and welcome to Cahnmann's Current Events Roundtable. Today we have two very, very impressive guests, and I'm so fortunate to have them on our show today. And the first guest of mine is Rabbi Funnye from the Beth Shalom B'nai Zaken Ethiopian Hebrew congregation, and that's a mouthful.
Yes.
And he is also cousin of Michelle Obama.
That's correct.
Very, very impressive. And of course, next to me is another impressive guest who has come, who I'm welcoming back because you were on my show before, Aaron.
True.
Aaron Freeman, it's a rerun.
Same jokes.
Chicago-based talk show host and comedian and member of Eitz Chaim Synagogue, Aaron Freeman. Welcome, both of you, to the show.
So
welcome,
good to be
Rabbi.
here.
And
Okay.
to
the bone, baby,
to
right
the bone. To the bone. And one thing that's very impressive, and people don't know, I'm going to say this, but you don't look Jewish. That is what the program is about.
You don't look Jewish at all. You don't look like a descendant of an African slave at all to me. It's
Absolutely.
amazing.
So, you know, Jewish people come in all colors of the rainbow. We have African American Jews, we have Chinese Jews, we have Mexican Jews, we have Jews from all around the world. And a lot of people don't realize that everyone thinks of being Jewish is being white. The only person that could be Jewish is white, but that isn't true.
Yeah, white Jews think that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things I brought you both here because we want to give you exposure and so that people understand there's more than one type of Jew. And especially with you, Rabbi, you're a rabbi, and I'm very impressed. I went to Rabbi Synagogue. It was delightful. People were friendly, and everybody read out of the Torah, and people read out of their prayer books, and it wasn't transliterated. That means that it wasn't, only person that had a transliteration was me, because when I went on the Bima,
Right.
And I could not, I was having difficulty even in my transliteration. Somebody from your synagogue helped me before I went on. And it wasn't the Caucasian woman sitting next to me, it was the African American lady that was sitting behind me who actually helped me.
Oh, very
and
good.
I'm very, very impressed. And one of the things that there's still a lot of issues in the African American community, and one of the issues of being Jewish is that all the textbooks and curricula features illustration of only white faces. So I'm going to let you both talk. First, I'll go with the rabbi, and what is your feeling about that, and how are you going to implement change on this?
Well, some of the changes have to be done through who's writing the textbook and who's putting forth the pictures that are in those texts depicting Jews. But the starting point should be organizations that are involved, Jewish organizations that have African Americans involved in them, African American Jews specifically, so that in those particular publications, it would be nice to see the face of Aaron Freeman in a Jewish publication, along with other Jews, specifying and pointing out and bringing out the diversity of the Jewish community. Our synagogue in and of itself has Ashkenazi Jews, Sephardic Jews, African Jews, African American Jews, but we also have Latino Jews from Mexico, B'nai Anusim, as well as we have Asian Jews from the Philippines, and we have biracial Jews. So it is what I believe the Jewish people have looked like from the very beginning. And that has been a very diverse set of individuals from different ethnicities. And I think the larger point for me is that the Torah says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one." It doesn't say, "See, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one."
It's an interesting concept. What do you feel, Aaron? I know that you're on some of our publications from Eitz Chaim. I know Aaron I know him from our synagogue, actually. And Aaron is the only African American Jewish person. Is there another person there? Oh, there is one other person.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
I'm not alone. There was Claude. Thank you, Claude.
Yeah, but he also looks kind of white, so it's kind of hard it's kind of hard to tell if he is African American, and that's been the issue.
The hair is a dead giveaway, but I
Yeah,
understand.
that's the only thing,
That's
right?
well, he's married to a white woman, so that's pretty much a
Yes,
marker for African Americanism.
yes. So, what Rabbi Capers-Funnye just said, what can be changed as far as illustrations and, we get our, the prayer books and whatever that has, I know you're in the publications. I've seen you many times there. But, in the, all the different, especially with children, get these little Seder books, during the Seders, and you don't see the mixture there. You only see the white children. You get these free books. Maybe from the grocery stores, from the jewelry.
the Maxwell House.
The Maxwell House, or whatever. Or even when you go to the bookstores and they have little Seder books for children. What do you think? Is there something maybe that would be something that you're a writer that you could work on for children?
First of all, let me say first of all that anybody who's interested in seeing a real good example of the diversity of the Jewish community, go to YouTube and Google search for Rabbi Capers Bes Shalom B'nai Zaken. There's a wonderful Channel 11 did a wonderful episode on Rabbi's congregation, and it was really wonderful. And you can see a version of Judaism that most of us are not privileged to see. So you can the YouTubes and the interwebs are very good vehicles for getting out the word. But in terms of books, you write your own books. I just happen to have written one, the Comic Torah, which I did with my fabulous wife, the comics artist Sharon Rosenzweig. And there's some white people in there, but Yahweh is actually green-skinned, and Moses looks like an actual African.
Oh,
So,
really?
yes.
So
we
that's
don't like
good.
the book, so we make our own.
What about in the Orthodox community? The Orthodox Jews do not. It said I Googled something and it said that the Orthodox Jews will not accept this group, not because they are black, but because they are not Jewish according to Jewish law. You are either born a Jew or convert and become a Jew. You can't simply decide or discover. What is your opinion on that, Rabbi?
Well, I don't know who made that particular comment. However, I can tell you that myself, my family, and over maybe 50 members of our congregation have all undergone halakhic conversion with Bet Din representing the Jewish people. So unfortunately, sometimes maybe this individual who made this particular comment, as I said, I don't know the person at all, felt that since the conversion was not orthodox, it was not authentic enough. And so perhaps that was the thinking. However, let me say that we welcome all Jews at Beth Shalom. And as a matter of fact, I think that labels are rather divisive, and it takes away from Jewish unity, and it doesn't add to Jewish unity. My work is about building bridges. My work is working across people's backgrounds and getting us to a common understanding as a group of people who identify ourselves as Jews. Because to me, Judaism is not simply one's mother being Jewish. It is an expression of how I live every day in my life, and that I've raised my children to live in that manner, and my grandchildren as well.
You also said something that you want your children to carry on your religion, and you would like them to marry Jews. Is that correct?
And that is very correct. And those individuals that they have married have gone through the mikvah and become a part of the Jewish people. Since our community is somewhat smaller anyway, the young people in the community, when they marry outside of the community, the persons that they marry tend to, I just came from the mikveh over the last month 3 times, bringing individuals who have been in the congregation for 2.5 years. They didn't convert because they're getting married. They went through conversion because this is an affinity that they feel to the Jewish faith, to the Jewish people, and it happens now that they are marrying members of the congregation who are also Jews.
Interesting. Aaron, is it true that, I don't have to show that I'm Jewish and, because I look a certain way, but is it true that we spoke earlier today about Jewish people that come from Africa, that they were Jewish from the very beginning, and they didn't have to, what is your thoughts on this?
I don't know. You're Jewish. I can't prove you're Jewish. I
Yeah,
have no
right.
opinions. I look like I believe that your ancestors are from Germany.
Yeah.
So I have not. I mean, I don't. I know lots of people to whom you would have to prove that you were Jewish.
Right. Well, in fact, I didn't even, I didn't even know I was Jewish until I was almost 10 years old. My father worked at a company that didn't allow Jewish people. And if they found out that he was Jewish, he would have lost his job. So my parents wouldn't tell me because they were afraid that when I went to one of the Christmas parties that was from the place that he worked, that I would say something, as a child would, and so it was kind of
Where's the bagels?
Yeah, so it was kind of right. So it was kept from me, and so I didn't really, I didn't grow up with Judaism. I grew up with the Christmas tree. I grew up with the Easter Bunny, and I really didn't know about this until I was a little bit later in my life that I found out I was Jewish.
Well, Easter Bunny actually is Jewish. It's very deep Kabbalah. It's a deep mystical Jewish thing. You probably have to study a lot longer than most people do.
But isn't it true that your ancestors come from the Hebrews, the ancient Hebrews, weren't
Mine
they?
are from Mississippi.
But weren't
The promised land, down in Alabama.
Oh, isn't it true though? Either one of you could speak about this. Aaron's getting very carried away.
The Jews tend to look like the peoples in the land in which they're found. When you go to Ethiopia, the Jews look like other Ethiopians. If you go to India, the Jews look like other Indian people. If you go to China, the Jews of China look like other Chinese people. And in America, since we are a cross-pollination of a lot of different people from a lot of different places, it would only stand to reason that Jews here can also look like they are from a lot of different places, which in fact they are.
But the ancient Israelis.
The
ancient ones. I'm talking about the ancient Israelites.
Blonde, blue eyes, absolutely. Charlton Heston.
Well, I teach it a different way. I teach that the peoples that stood at the mountain, at the foot of Mount Sinai, were a very diverse set of people. Were there Africans there? Yes. I like the Talmudic saying that says that Yehudi is not Ashkenazi, v'gam lo Kushi, but somewhere in between, so that the Jewish people look as in a mixture of all peoples. And so we have to, I think, get away from this idea that there was only one family and everybody in the family looked like dad. And these 70 souls that went into Egypt, when they came out according to the Torah, over 600,000 men, let us simply say if they did build the pyramids, they would not have had time for the type of procreation that took place there.
Interesting. That is interesting. What is, for Black Jews, there's a maybe you could address this, and the rabbi can, reversion, not conversion. What is reversion, not conversion? Aaron, or?
That's his term.
That's his
That's
term?
my term.
That's your term?
Yep.
Okay.
And so the conversion can be mistaken to say, am I trying to imitate and become an Ashkenazi Jew? The answer to that question is no, I'm simply becoming a Jew. I became a part of the Jewish people, not the Ashkenazi Jewish people, but the Jewish people. But the other part of reversion says, particularly in the African American, elements of the African American Jewish community, that we believe that just as there are the Limba people in South Africa who have ancient ties to Judaism, the Igbo people in Nigeria and Ghana and Cameroon that have ancient ties to Judaism. Everyone knows about the Beta Yisrael from Ethiopia who have these ancient ties to Judaism. So then perhaps what we're doing is coming back. We are returning to a faith that was lost to us.
So it was a lost.
The reversion.
Aaron,
I get it.
I'm curious.
That
why?
recon.
Okay, why? I know some of the reasons you converted. I know but the true reason why you converted. I know that you always think that Jewish people have the best.
The Jews are the biggest, baddest, richest, most powerful gang on earth.
Right.
Why would I not want to be a part of the biggest, baddest, richest, most powerful gang on earth?
So what? So when did you decide to become a Jew?
Well, I think the rabbi would say that the Talmud tells us that there are two ways to know if there's the intention of Hashem to make one a Jew. The most common way is that one finds oneself born of a Jewish mother. The second most common way is one finds oneself making out with a lot of Jewish women. And I was subject to the latter. I found that the Lord gave me a desire to make out with Jewish women. And the easiest way to find them was to go to synagogue, and the easiest way to get into one was to convert. So I figured,
So have you had anybody that you felt that, question your Judaism, or have you had any?
Well, the boyfriends of some of the Jewish girls that I was making out with, they said, wait a minute, this guy's not even Jewish. How can you be making out with him? And I said, well, I intend to convert, brother. No, sorry.
This is what happens when you have a comedian on.
I'm just saying, this is the truth. Those Jewish girls, they're hot. You know that? They're hot. Well, the rabbi was saying, there was 70 and then 600,000 of them out there because they're Jewish girls
But
were putting out.
I know you're married to a Jewish woman. Her name is Rosenzweig.
Sharon Rosenzweig, the comics artist Sharon Rosenzweig.
And you've been working on some things together.
The Comic Torah.
And what is the comic?
TheComicTorah.com.
What is the Comic Torah? What is that?
TheComicTorah.com.
But what is it?
When you go to it is a reimagining of the Hebrew Bible. It is a love story with blood. We imagine Yahweh as a green-skinned female and in love with her hunky Northern African Moses.
Okay. So this is a book to show.
It's a reimagining of the first 5 books of Moses.
And you're
the
doing.
Torah.
That's a hard job to do.
Took us 2 years to do it.
2 years, and it's on the market.
It's on the market. It's on the web. It's all on TheComicTorah.com.
Very interesting. That's good. Rabbi? What did you convert? Let me go back to you. What was the reason that you converted?
Looking for something with more depth and understanding. I started this journey when I was 17 years old, and I was offered a scholarship to become an AME minister. And one of the main issues I had was a holiday that you said you celebrated, which was Easter. Well, Easter celebrated the resurrection. The resurrection created a lot of problems for me. Why? Because if in fact this person was a representation of God, and this person was killed and dead for 3 days, how can you kill God? That presented itself as an enormous, enormous problem, and it really started me to thinking. It challenged it went beyond simply saying that I believe this, and because I believe it, this is my faith. Judaism says that it is okay to question. It is okay to synthesize your intellect with your spirituality. And so for me, Judaism has allowed that. And I live it every day because I question every day. And it's not important to find all of the answers.
How did your family feel about when you converted,
I have 2 sisters that also converted, a third that was on the way until my mother said, is everybody going to be Jewish and leave me at home by myself?
So your mother converted too?
No, she did not.
You never got your mother to convert?
She did not convert, but her mother's maiden name was Cohen.
Interesting.
So her mother's maiden name was Cohen, who married Robinson. So, we have to maybe even look at that and do a study and see if there's something.
The Jews were slaveholders.
So the Robinson name is Michelle Obama's, that's her maiden name, isn't it?
Her maiden name is, yes, Robinson.
Robinson. So that's how you're related through the Robinson connection.
That's correct. Her grandfather and my mother were brother and sister.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So it's nice to, maybe I was thinking about maybe President Obama would not have had so many problems, remember, with the Reverend Wright situation, if he would have come to been a member of your synagogue. That would have really been something.
It would have been amazing.
We could have been having the first black Jewish president.
But then you can't expect the president to give up his Muslim faith just for that.
Oh.
Yeah, we'd make him change his middle name. So.
Yeah, really. I mean, look, the man's a committed Muslim, atheist, and Marxist.
Oh.
So, obviously, you couldn't be a Jew at the same time.
You have to remember that Aaron is always joking, so do not take this
He's a
literally.
Muslim atheist Marxist, I swear. He is. And he's a cousin of Osama bin Laden.
Oh.
But he's actually a robot. There is no actual brother.
Anyway,
Obamatron. Kettle, drone.
You had them on, not me.
Well, why did I have them on with you? We have two sides here. I'm trying to balance this out. In the black community right now, there's a lot of problems with the children. And I wonder, both of you, have you done anything with, we're talking about there's a lot of children that are getting mixed into with drugs, and there's been a lot of killings between black children and black children, and I call them children even if they're a teenager, they're still children, and the schools haven't been adequate. There's a lot of, we've been talking about school closing. What is your congregation been doing to help? And also I'm going to go back to Aaron to see if, being a comedian, where he sits with this too, as far as helping kids.
Our congregation sits in one of the most oppressed communities in the city of Chicago. Today the community is called Chicago Lawn. The community has a very large Arab Muslim population. It has a very large ethnic white population, along with African Americans as well. Several mosques, Catholic churches, and Protestant churches. So we have worked in conjunction with Muslims in the mosque, with the priests in the Catholic Church, Protestant ministers, and marching against violence in the Chicago Lawn community. Our synagogue is a safe haven for kids that are running away, seeking to get shelter from gangs. And I believe that the most important thing for me is I did a program at 2 schools in the community called Weeding Out Hate. We had the children marching. After we finished our little march in the neighborhood, the kids went to an area and they started pulling up weeds. And we were weeding out the weeds of hate, the weeds of bullying. And we were giving the children seeds to plant. Seeds of opportunity, seeds of hope, seeds of something to look forward to in their lives on the morrow. So I believe that it's important for faith communities, from whatever faith, to be involved in neighborhoods. I think that ministers, clergy, imams, rabbis should spend some time in local schools to see where they can volunteer and help, where you have young men and boys and girls who are a single parent family who might want to talk to someone. I think that we are all involved, and I think that we are all, a part of trying to make the situation better. That's my perspective.
That's very interesting. And if everybody works together, the kids will feel that somebody's there for them. Remember, gangs, leaders of gangs become the parent.
Right.
And that's why kids that have nothing to do, they stand on street corners, they drop out of school, they feel frustrated. That's when gangs become very powerful. They're there to kind of catch them as they're falling, and they take over where the parents are not. And I like the idea that the synagogue, the churches, and the mosques are really helping these kids. Aaron, is there anything that, I don't know, with Eitz Chaim, have you seen anything that Eitz Chaim or you personally are doing in the area?
Well, I appreciate, first of all, you're white-splaining the African-American community to me. Let me say that in Highland Park, the African-American community has the same problems as the rest of them, overspending, too much time on Facebook,
getting into drugs.
Well, no more so than anybody else. It's the African-American community in Highland Park. The
white community gets into the same thing.
So, there are many African-American communities, like a whole lot of them. And some of them, the ones that are poor in the inner city, have the same kind of problems as the white people who are poor in the inner city. The ones that are overprivileged on the North Shore have the same problems as the white ones who are overprivileged on the North Shore. It is, as far as I know, not a melanin-based issue.
But there are not guns that's going off down
in Highland Park. Among the black people, there are no guns going off. You're right.
Yeah.
No guns. There's no violence. There's not the kind of problems.
Yeah, it's maybe drug problems, alcohol problems.
Among the people I know in Highland Park, those problems are not. Those are not the issues.
So, what do you feel that the issues are?
In Highland Park, like I said, overspending, privilege, too much conspicuous consumption. What do you see?
Yeah, I see the same thing. I see the same thing because people say, well, you're very privileged, you live in this area, and I see a lot of problems. I have friends whose children are had heroin problems. So I know what goes on. And it's very, very sad. So in your area, there's no parents, or maybe they're being raised by their grandparents. Maybe the parents are absent. Maybe the mother is working. There's no father. They're getting into they're getting into getting guns and stuff and shooting each other. And people that are getting really hurt are the crossfire. These little kids in the crossfire. And in our area is too much.
Insane cash flow stones.
Yeah.
Milton Friedman's disciples, very dangerous game.
Well, one of the things I saw at the DuSable Museum not too long ago was a poster, and it was a poster of a young person being shot and a young person of African American descent doing the shooting, and the poster read "The New KKK," kin killing kin, and that really resonated with me.
My goodness.
But again, I think that the problems that are going on in the inner city of Chicago and inner cities throughout this country, that we all have a responsibility. I don't care where you live, Highland Parkers or North Shores, wherever you might be, this is one community. And I think that we have to begin examining how folks that do live in different areas can be effective. So in other words, when there's a march on the South Side after a shooting, how effective would it be to see people from the North Shore down there supporting those pastors or those families that have just lost a son or a daughter, saying to everyone, to the media specifically, that yes, those people of, as Aaron calls them, of privilege, care about those people that do not have those same privileges.
We don't.
Yeah.
And so,
Well,
We don't care. We don't Highland Park. We don't care about Fort Worth. What are you, nuts?
That isn't true, Aaron.
Oh, okay.
I think, Aaron, that the Rabbi is absolutely correct. I think if our synagogues say we're going to be going to a march and we're going to help these families and we need to do something for them, and our rabbis, our leaders say that this is what we're going to do, we would do it. So we need our leaders from our churches, our synagogues, to really do this, and I think we would. I mean, at our synagogue, they came to your synagogue. I came to your synagogue on my own because I missed it that time I was out of town. But I think this is extremely important. I think we can do it. I really do. And we need people like you. You live in Highland Park, Aaron. I live in the area right next to Highland Park. I live in the Fort Sheridan area, and we need to do this together. Maybe our Rabbi can help us and be part of our spiritual
As long as we
leaders.
don't have to go into their neighborhoods, it's okay. I'll be glad to write a check.
No, I go into the neighborhood. I am fine.
the work has to be done.
Yes, I do. I go. I
the
do.
handshakes and stuff?
Yeah, and maybe you hear the clicking on the car doors, but that isn't something.
The work that is important. There have been a lot of organizations over the years that have sought to do enormous work and bringing together the African American community and kids from other parts of the community.
I want to thank you, Rabbi. I see that we're probably down to our last minute regarding our everything's coming, credits are rolling, and I want to thank you for coming and talking about this and to educate our part of town. And you, Aaron, of course, our comedian here.
I'm glad I came.
Yes, he came. He's really funny. We don't have our Ritalin with you today, but we love both of you. Thank you both for coming and contributing, because it is a contribution, and we need to work on this together. We are one family. We're not separate families. We are one family. We are. But anyway,